Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, The Hotelier's Guide, Leveraging Technology to Enhance the Complete Guest Journey, brought to you by Stay in Touch, Trust You, and Sendine. I'm Frigola, and I'm joined by my presenters and panel today. First up is SVP of Global Marketing and Business Development, Michael Bennett for Sendine. Michael oversees global marketing, sales development, and brand creative at Sendine. He's over 22 years of international management experience, working with companies such as KSL Resorts and White Lodging. He currently sits on the National HSMAI Marketing Board and leads Sendine's San Diego office, where he resides with his wife and two beautiful daughters. Joining us from Trust You is VP of Marketing, Valerie Costello. Valerie is the head of marketing at Trust You, the world's largest guest feedback platform. She has 10 years of experience in the hospitality industry, previously having worked as a product marketing manager on the hospitality cloud at Cvent, a Vista equity partner. Currently, she is leading Trust You's strategy to better inform and educate hoteliers on the importance and value of guest feedback. And rounding out the panel is myself, Frigola. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Stay in Touch, an innovator in mobile PMS technology, helping redefine the guest experience by helping hotels merge technology, innovation with white glove service. All right, so we'll quickly run through the agenda and get started. I wanted to first give our audience an overview of what we'll be discussing today. Give me 1 second. All right, so today we're going to talk about utilizing technology to connect with your guests from search to stay to post-stay. So we're taking a complete 360 view of the whole guest journey and how you can incorporate technology to reiterate and really reinforce your brand promise. How to activate your technology for a heightened level of personalization. So we'll take real-life stories of hotels who have leveraged tech to reaffirm their brand promise. And then, of course, before we leave, we want to take some questions from the audience, and we'll be sure to answer as many as we can. If we don't have a chance to get to all the questions, feel free to submit them afterwards. I'll give you that information. But you can go ahead and submit questions at any time of the webinar, so you don't have to wait until the end. If you come across a question, just go ahead and put it into the chat box on the right part of your portal. Okay, to start off with, we are going to discuss leveraging technology during the search and pre-stay. Kicking us off is Michael from Sendine. We'll talk about the guest journey. It all starts with a search.
Great, thank you so much. So as we all know, there's a ton of digital touch points that have to be personalized, engaging, and relevant. And it really does all start with search. Guests are increasingly looking for hotels to custom tailor, contextualize, and personalize their offers in the search phase, even if they've stayed with them or haven't stayed with them before. They expect us to know them based on their location, their device, their past clicks, etc. So, you know, there's obviously a ton of different touch points here that will leave these crumbs, these cookie crumbs behind. But it's really important that we really attack from a search perspective exactly where the customers live and what they want. There was a survey done by Accenture in late 2018 that came back, said 91% of consumers said they prefer to shop with brands that know their preferences and personal recommendations. 75% of them said they wanted brands to deliver a curated experience, and only 27% complained about companies being too invasive. So, you know, that's a good data set to show that people want that personalized experience within the search phase. Next slide, please. So, you know, we know that guests are searching for inspiration, reviews, hotel attributes, location, prices, all before they take any action. And they're shopping across multiple channels, multiple devices, multiple touch points in any given time of the day. So, you know, to reach them, you really have to think about all the different types of search, video, behavioral, paid search, meta search, remarketing, brand paid search, SEO, social, all those things have to be a part of the conversation. And you have to think about it in terms of the different phases, whether it's inspiration, consideration, intent, or the actual conversion that happens. So it's definitely a multi-touch approach. And, you have to think about the data that's being collected and leveraging that data, with machine learning or AI, whatever it might be, to create combinations to do this. Because the reality is a human can't manage all these data touch points in any given day. You have to use technology to leverage it to win when you're trying to manage through the search process. Next slide, please. So let's talk about an example. So here's the Harbor House, small hotel, boutique hotel in Santa Barbara. So they really focused on a good reputation. So they use one of our CRM products. They use automated communication program that sends out messages before, during, and after the stay, and the platform's directly integrated with TripAdvisor to allow the guest to post reviews right away. So this gave the hotel a cycle of improved ratings and better visibility. It increased their review by over 50% and ultimately securing the #1 spot in Santa Barbara. So while it's review focused, getting that #1 ranking really pushes them up in terms of the search, both organic and within TripAdvisor. So doing that, they were able to significantly increase their direct bookings, reducing their OTA commissions by 35%. The review pace increased by 50%. 80% of their reviews are as excellent, and it's helped them maintain almost 100% occupancy year round. So that solid reputation really plays into maintaining that positive presence within the search phase.
Awesome, thanks, Michael. The search phase is an important part, partly because, as you mentioned, the guest is already having some level of expectation. But beyond that, the pre-stay, what about after they book? So during the pre-stay, understanding your guests' expectations are an important part because they don't change their level of expectation or what a good experience is based on the type of business they're interacting with, right? So here are just some numbers to indicate where the guests are today and how our digital economy has really impacted every consumer, no matter what type of business they're interacting with. So 70% of travelers indicated that a hotel's website, app, and other digital tools impact their decision to book a stay. And so once a guest has arrived, 74% want substantial digital involvement from hotels. And you can see here 80% of travelers find it important that a hotel allows them to get personal preferences and updates for their future stay. So this really indicates that the guest wants to see a personalized experience and outreach approach via their mobile device. And in large part, that's because it's always at their fingertip. It indicates that you, as the business, is committed to meeting that guest where they are, to give them a better level of convenience and access, and beyond that, to really personalize the type of experience they're looking for. And so one way that you can do that as a hotelier is to really capitalize on the monetized early check-in approach. So by giving your guest, by communicating with your guest via their mobile device prior to their arrival, you can actually monetize that experience and you can personalize that experience. So it's happened to the best of us at one time or another. Either the only flight you could get with an early bird, your arrival from your destinations ahead of schedule, or you're attending an event or a wedding early in the day, but the hotel check-in isn't until 2 or 3 p.m. And on the other end of the spectrum, when it's due to check out, sometimes you just want to extend your stay. You want to spend a little bit more time there, and you want to enjoy your stay a little bit longer. And so to have that flexibility and to have that offer directly delivered on your mobile device, where you can really capitalize and extend your stay or get an early check-in via your mobile device, makes things so much more convenient for the guest. So enabling your guests to communicate with you before their arrival is not just about capitalizing on revenue opportunities, but also about capitalizing on the guest experience and extending the promise, or reaffirming the promise, the brand promise you've laid out there, to give your guest a level of experience that goes beyond the norm, right? So you're allowing them to check in from anywhere. You're allowing them to interact with you from anywhere. You're allowing them to tell you what it is that they expect, what their preferences are, what they would like to see, and how they would like their experience to be tailored to their likes prior to even arriving at the property. So you can send a web link for a check-in up to 24 hours prior to their arrival, right? And that gives you an opportunity to tell the guests, hey, your room is ready, or we understand that from your previous stay that you might be interested in some of these offers. Here's an opportunity to capitalize on that. At any point, you don't have to wait until you get to the desk or get to the hotel and stop by the front desk and interact maybe in a way that you're not interested in, but rather you can choose to to capitalize on these opportunities throughout the guest stay. So you're empowering your guests by promoting customization and convenience and control. And beyond that, you're letting your guests have more touch points with you. You're letting your hotel capitalize on opportunities to generate more revenue with more guest touch points. And you're doing it all seamlessly through technology, because now you're not prompting them with a front desk agent who might be a little bit more intrusive in their approach, but rather you're letting automation do the heavy lifting there. And you're letting that happen during the guest stay, before the guest stay, after the guest stay, at poignant times, at the right time, understanding what the guest would like, understanding what their buying behaviors are, and how they've experienced your stay in the past. And so here's an example of one of our customers, Conscious Hotels. They take a really cool and eco-friendly approach to a new innovative level, with their 3 Amsterdam hotels. They wanted a PMS that could move guests from the front desk lines to easy self-check-in services and allow their staff to really get from behind the computer screens and really interact with the guests. More importantly, they wanted to offer guests a greater scope of choice by limiting the front desk and giving their staff an opportunity to circulate the lobby, be shoulder to shoulder with their guest, look their guests in the eyes, and be flexible with how they input the guest data information into the PMS. And so it really took the administrative elements out of the check-in experience, and it empowered the staff to really be more engaging with the guest. And so you can see here Marco Lemmers, who's the CEO at Conscious Hotels. He talked about, we strive to bring an unprecedented level of personalized service to our guests, letting them design their own hotel experience to the greatest degree possible. Our mobile PMS lets us serve guests wherever they would like to interact with us in ways that give them complete freedom of choice. So it's really about handing over choice to your guest, because the reality is that as the business, you're never going to know exactly what it is that the guest wants. But if you diversify the options that you lay out there, you really can't get it wrong, because the choice is in their hands. And Valerie's going to take it away.
Thank you, Free. Free talked a lot about mobile technology and its use cases during the pre-stay process, but just going back to the searching and the booking and planning a bit, I do want to take a step back and show you why this trend is so important. We see a lot of stats about the adoption of mobile. I'm sure you've seen that, the huge numbers, billions of people across the world having these smart computers in their pockets, and how that's kind of changing and reinventing the way that all of our technology and just our day-to-day life operates. But I really like this study from Google because it specifically talks to the travel industry. And you can see here the percentages of people in the different markets around the world widely adapting mobile technology, specifically in their search, book, and planning process. So you see these vast majorities in Japan and Brazil and India, and very statistically significant percentages also in the US, UK, France, Australia, as you see here. So it really ensures that the importance for hotels, that bookings and, more importantly, the ever sought after direct booking can happen very easily in a mobile capacity. That's going to be extremely important. So if we go to the next slide, I'll kind of show you exactly how we, kind of enable that here at Trust You. And this is a relatively new concept. I'm not sure if anyone here is also in marketing, but conversational marketing is this new buzzword that I'm hearing a lot, and there's a lot of new technologies that are bringing it in. And basically what it's trying to do is take over that lengthy contact us form that is getting less and less conversions, and making sure that contact information, no matter where you put it on your website, you might have it in the upper right hand corner and it seems very obvious. But what's something that actually is more obvious to your guest and a traveler, especially while they're searching on their mobile phone, they have to scroll and zoom in and out, is these live chat features. So we're seeing a lot more, live chat available on websites, so that once you're there and you're starting to make decisions, or you start to have questions, instead of having to do all of your own research, which people often are happy to do. But again, while sitting on that mobile device, it can be great to have someone just say, hey, what can I help you with? And you can just kind of text back and forth about what your questions are. And like I said, in replace of these contact us forms, or even a lengthy booking process that might take you through step-by-step, you can actually just message and say, I actually just want to book a hotel room for 2 nights at your hotel. And, on the other side, you can have a representative that can give them the information that they need, that can, register that information, say, yes, we've got you. And like I said, instead of filling out those contact us forms, it's just what's your name, what's your email address, what are the dates, and it's very easy to just type that in back and forth like a regular conversation. So this is a very cool technology that I think is definitely going to change the face of marketing and booking. And we'll see how those trends pan out over the next year, but I definitely think it's going to be a big deal and really reinvent the booking process for hotels and for companies all over the world. So I will jump in a little bit more about different technologies that can leverage this messaging feature in the later phases. But for now, I will go ahead and hand it back to Free so we can jump into the next stage of the guest journey.
Awesome, Valerie. Thanks so much for that. And this is another example of convenience, really meeting the guests where they are and making that promise to assist them and be as responsive as possible. So the next part, or next stage of this discussion, talks about leveraging technology during the guest stay experience. Obviously, this is an important part because as a hotelier, you have the opportunity to see the guest face to face, and now you have complete control over the guest stay. So on average, all right, so how do we drive guest satisfaction and capitalize on revenue simultaneously? And again, a big part of that is putting the control in the hands of the guests to let you know or clue you in as to how they want to experience their stay. Giving them more choice can really yield more opportunities for revenue for a hotelier or for a hotel. One of which is room upgrades, right? So we're all more than aware that upsells have the potential to really generate more incremental revenue for hotels, right? It's a very successful marketing technique that you have a potential to really capitalize on the customer's interest. So a well-managed self or upsell program can really benefit a hotel. And beyond that, one that's triggered through automation and through technology is even more powerful because it's prompted easily, it's triggered easily, and it's triggered without the need for a human being to be at the front end of that conversation, which can sometimes get a little bit uncomfortable. There's a consumer study that actually saw that only 28% of front desk staff have that conversation about upsells when a guest checks in. How much opportunity is slipping through the cracks because there isn't a 24/7, always on target approach to how you push upsells and upgrades, and one that is not intrusive. So with increasing dominant role of technology, some of these methods for making travel plans are really changing dramatically. And part of that is putting the control in the hands of the guest, leveraging self-service options like a kiosk in the lobby of your hotel to actually work through a flow or have your technology go through a check-in flow that gives a guest an opportunity to experience a check-in in a simple way that is in their control and that really speaks to the type of experience that they're already familiar with in so many other business interactions that they have, right? If they're at when they're checking in at the airline, what happens? A lot of times people choose to actually go to the kiosk and check into their flight that way, as opposed to going to an airline attendant or standing in line. So giving them that level of convenience, allowing them to ditch the front lines, and easily taking them through a check-in flow that prompts upsells and upgrade opportunities allows you to capitalize on that opportunity. And you can customize some of these upsells as well. So understanding what the guest's interest is, if they've stayed with you previously, or if they've already indicated that they prefer fluffy pillows, or they would like a spa package. All of that can be built into this automated flow, check-in flow, that is then prompts them to go from one stage to the next in a course of maybe a minute and a half to 2 minute check-in. And you can really capitalize on those opportunities to capitalize on the upgrades and to customize that workflow to change it any time that you want. And beyond that, it's really intended to really seep into the brand promise, the brand look and feel that you're trying to propel within your property. And also, freeing your staff from the front desk. So your staff can be a lot more active with the guest and engaging with the guest when they're shoulder to shoulder with the guest and they're not stuck behind a front desk that doesn't really yield itself to good conversations or to fluent conversations, right? Your staff can walk around with the guest and maybe even check in the guest, take the guest to their room, and still at the same time take pertinent guest information and store that in the PMS. So really, this is really about understanding the power of mobility and the power of self-service. And mobile messaging works as well. So 5 to 20% conversion rate with a targeted upsell is what we see on the mobile side. And if you just think about that, that can add about $65,000 a year of revenue for an average hotel. And beyond that, you can increase back of the house efficiency. So, a guest who sees that as soon as they arrive at the property, their room is ready, and they're instantly able to check in is a happier guest. So making sure that your front of house and back of house is able to turn over rooms quicker because they're all clued in on room status and they're all clued in on the guest information allows you to really put forth a better effort and a better impression for a first-time guest, and beyond that, a guest that has been here repeatedly. So using your mobile PMS to store important guest data, as we all know, is very pertinent, not just because it's intended to be stored in the PMS and stay there, but because with the cloud PMS, that information can then be pushed to your CRM to give your CRM important insight about the guests so that they can then, so that a hotelier can then leverage their CRM to send targeted messages and targeted email campaigns to a guest, understanding how they've experienced the stay, what are some of the buying habits, what are some of the things they've expressed are an interest of theirs, or what are some of the upsell opportunities that they capitalized on. So all that information is important and can then be stored in the PMS and passed over to the CRM so that you can continue the conversation and continue to target that guest after that initial stay. So we see with Aria, which is an MGM property and one of our customers, that they've done an enormous job at not just leveraging technology, but promoting technology, promoting mobile check-in at their property, because they see that it's already had a huge impact. So they see about 1,200 arrivals a day. They've been able to capture 35 to 40% of those guests checking in the mobile. So the power of mobile is in those numbers. They also see that they can collect pertinent information about the guest without being intrusive, without needing a front desk agent to ask for an email, ask for information during the guest stay or during the check-in process. But rather, they can prompt all of that easily through a check-in flow, leverage technology. So with that, I'll pass it over to Michael, I believe. Oh no, this is you, Valerie.
Yes. So coming back and talking a little bit more about the guest communication side. So obviously the check-in process is a huge place where you want to communicate with guests, and again, really throughout the entire on-site experience. So we've already talked a little bit about web chat, but there's so many more different channels, especially in today's world, that can be used to talk to your guests. And everyone has their own specific preference. Some people do still like calling and coming up to the front desk, and that's great. And many hotels will always include that as their main method of communication. But what you can introduce is multi-channel communication. And this is really where we're seeing a lot of hotels win, is with the guest messaging platform. You can engage with your guests via all these channels to keep them informed. Outreach messages can just kind of get a message across the entire hotel of something that you have going on, a special event. Maybe there's just a quick warning that you want to give them about construction or whatever it might be. And that can really, again, free up your staff's time the way that mobile check-in process works. Also using mobile devices and mobile communication to, communicate with your guests can, also free up a lot of staff time. You can also, again, manage guest expectations that way. But then you can also benefit from, the ROI of it by offering upgrades via messages and, getting to communicate with them a bit more than you would with maybe just your staff at hand. So the best part about, I think, using all of these communication methods is it can seem overwhelming, but with any guest messaging platform, whatever communication you're having via any of the channels that you see listed here can be combined into one view for your own staff. So if a guest is texting you prior to check-in or submitting a feedback via a web chat later in their stay, the entire conversation can really be still saved in one place. So if we go to the next slide, we can actually kind of see a better visual of what I'm talking about here. So from this perspective, I always like to touch on, what it looks like to be a hotelier and to start messaging with your guests via these improved channels. So the internal communication techniques it can be used for. If a message comes through from a guest and the front desk receives it, they can also message internally to their maintenance team, who may need to handle the exact inquiry that they're seeing come through, like in this instance, turning down the music at the pool. So you can provide really real-time service with the guests via these communication methods, make it very easy for your staff to communicate with each other, all while limiting the amount of work that piles up on your own plate when implementing these systems. And then, of course, if we're going to look at the hotel perspective, if we go to the next slide, just changing the perspective around to the guest experience. From the guest experience side, Oftentimes if they're getting onto the Wi-Fi, they're being brought directly to your hotel page. And that's where that live chat feed can come back into play again. You can offer more personalized experiences and open more lines of communication by allowing guests to chat on site with you via the live chat or text message. And once again, all of these messages populate into the same inbox. So you're still capturing on that staff efficiency that we've been talking about throughout, everyone's presentation today. And then also providing that really personalized experience. So I will get back to, how hotels are really implementing it and a success story on that during the post-stay phase. But for now, I will wrap things up from my side and pass it along to Michael at Sundyne.
Thanks, Valerie. So now that we've acquired the guest, right, they're on property for the stay, the nurturing has to begin. And you can see on the slide as it builds out here, we all used to getting this messaging, whether it's in app or email, whatever it might be. But it tells us a lot of things, right, about how the hotel is using our data. So I see Dear Bennett Michael tells me that they're probably using an antiquated system that doesn't know how to properly address a guest. Dear valued guests, they obviously don't value me that much. They don't even know my name. Dear hashtag full name, poor marketing automation. It's not tagged correctly to even pull in a guest name, and Dear blank, right? So the guest expectation is that, I think there's one more slide there. They're just looking for hello, Michael, a simple recognition. And pulling all that data together, it's not the easiest thing to do, right? So, hotel staff are under-resourced, they're unprepared to handle the growing flood of data and action it accurately. And that's outside of, the marketing team in most hotels is stretched then. Imagine how the team at the front desk and within operations feels to be able to leverage that data. So Skip did a survey, hotel marketing survey just a little bit ago, and they came back and said 60% of marketers said they are neither don't have the processes implemented, organizational structures in place, nor the deep analytical skills needed to execute a comprehensive data strategy. So that leads us to our next slide, where we believe the answer lies in a CRM platform, building those global profiles, that single version of truth. So if you consolidate all those touch points we've been talking about into a rich guest profile through the CRM, you can better serve your guests throughout their stay. So, that way at the front desk, it's welcome back instead of have you stayed here before. You can offer that right upsell to the repeat guests at their favorite restaurant on property, or offer them a spa package based on their click behaviors. Or you can pay special attention to the social influencers who are most likely to share their experience while they're on property. But at the end of the day, if you do not have that data centralized and connected to your PMS and your POS and your spa system and whatever technology you have within your individual hotel or group of hotels, it's going to be really hard to deliver on the guest expectations. Next slide, please. So here's a case study. So, when you have these rich profiles in CRM, you're able to segment your communications during the stay. So help manage their experience and itinerary with real-time communication. You can educate them on the offerings and incentives in the market. So here's a few examples. So this is Standard Hotels, a client of one of ours. So they deliver lots of in-stay messaging via email and both mobile. And you can see that email clicks for segmenting communications are 17% versus 5% for generic. So that personalization nearly triples the actual click rates. And same deal on almost doubles on opening versus click. So, it speaks to the point of leveraging that data to drive different actions within the hotel. And again, we're talking about, this is not pre or post, this is actually while they're in the hotel. So engagement goes up significantly when you know your guests and you're giving them what they want to hear.
All right, thanks, Mike. Oh, sorry. I guess you can go ahead. You're kicking off the next slide.
Yep. So let's talk about leveraging post-stay. So, loyal guests book at 47% higher ADR, stay 81% more often, and spend 164% more than non-loyal guests or loyalty program members. So let's, think about that. I mean, you have to engage with your past guests. And so how do you do that? You have to create, a great experience on property so they want to come back. That means we want to send them surveys. We want to send them personalized booking offers. We want to tailor their preferences. We want to recognize their birthday, anniversary, et cetera, things like that. And, it also, when we do that, it encourages them to share with family and friends on a social model. And when we think about our best guests, one of the biggest opportunities for hotels is to build lookalike models. So understanding what your best guest looks like, your most loyal guest looks like on a weekend versus weekday, business transient versus group, whatever it might be, and then using that data that you have in a CRM platform and marketing automation to go out and find guests that look just like that. That's where the incremental upside comes from, leveraging your best guest data. So, this is a look at the entire cycle, booking cycle, pre, post, and during, and all the, not even all, but a lot of the data touch points where you can actually, output personalized communication throughout the journey. And, the point here being is that post is that you have to nurture this data. And if you don't have it centralized, it's going to be really hard to do that, just with POS or just PMS. But leveraging those connections, your review data, whatever it might be, into the data warehouse and be able to nurture it, that's how you're going to be able to really leverage and drive additional and new revenue. Next slide, please. So here's an example from a hotel, Sophia Hotels. So, by using the technology platform, you can segment your post-stay communications through multiple channels that are relevant and personalized. We've just spent a bunch of time talking about that. So, here they're using their data, they look at it from, an automated platform standpoint. So, they say CRM provides us an automated platform that delivers relevant marketing and personalization across the whole process, from hotel search to post-stay communication. So they're very thin in terms of a corporate marketing team, like a lot of hotels and smaller brands are. So they really have to leverage the technology. So they're basically completely automated. They've taken the time to build the business rules and understand the personas and their guests across the portfolio, and then they leverage technology to deliver all that personalized communication.
Awesome, thanks, Michael. And I'll just jump in, just kind of, for the most part, reiterate what you're saying. Personalizing the guest marketing, essentially, really requires rich data about the guest, and that's really where the PMS comes into play. Storing a robust or building a robust guest profile really allows your other core systems like the CRM to take that information and activate that so that they can continue the conversation post the guest stay. So every opportunity you get to convert a customer or to convert a guest into a loyal guest should be leveraged, and technology can help that process by taking that data and personalizing the offer that you give them after the stay and continuing that conversation after the stay. So connecting your PMS and CRM is an essential part of that, so that you can maintain that conversation. You can offer more information or you can leverage the information about the guest buying habit, their stay preferences, push that to the CRM, and allow your marketers to really leverage that data to create personalized messages and targeted campaigns based off of what you know about the guest already. And also pushing loyalty programs, with perks based on what you already know about the guest. So if you have a well-defined guest profile, then you understand how to have that conversation about the guest the next time. In times of low seasons, you can capitalize on guests who have already stayed with you, maybe stayed with you multiple times, to offer them special packages, understanding what you know about them, where you know their preferences lie, what you know their buying habits are. And that's a part of engaging your guests after the guest journey. We see here that a fully engaged guest spends about $588 per stay versus $403 per stay. And that starts with the pre-stay experience. And part of that is just a carryover from maybe their prior stay with you. And so continue that conversation with a robust marketing approach, leveraging data from your PMS that is then pushed into your CRM, allows you to continue that conversation and have a more targeted conversation with these guests, offering them more personalized packages, and leveraging that guest as a repeat guest, and capitalizing on those engagement points to really get the most out of the revenue angle and really beefing up your bottom line. So I've got an example here from Fontainebleau, which is another customer of ours, and they actually had one customer of theirs leave a very positive review that talked about the end-to-end experience from the pre-stay to the arrival to departure. And they were really just talking about how at no point was the conversation or the engagement lacking or disconnected. Talks about how this guy was able to interact with the guests or interact with the hotel prior to his arrival. He received an email at the time of booking that showed him restaurant options, spa options, entertainment. And then on the day of his arrival, he received his next email, which was formatted to a mobile device, so mobile optimized. And he offered him the ability to check in that day simply by picking up his key card and skipping the front desk experience. So clearly this guest really appreciated the convenience angle and the promptness of the hotel and the commitment of the hotel to stay engaged with him throughout his stay. And then on the day of the departure, he was sent an email, actually was just waiting for him there as he woke up, asking him if he'd like to extend his stay, and this is something that he took advantage of. Maybe he wasn't thinking about it the night before, but maybe he woke up having, a pretty rough night the night before and decided, hey, I'd like to stay an extra night. So these are opportunities that you can capitalize on throughout the guest stay if you leverage technology to increase the amount of touch points that you have with your guest. So the guy was impressed, and that's really what you want to see from every guest that leaves. Every guest is an opportunity to create a repeat guest and to win a new guest who might be scouring through the internet, looking at reviews on these different sites, review sites, and may come across a great review that compels them to stay at your property. Valerie?
Thanks, Bree. So obviously getting a great review like that is an amazing experience for your hotel and something that you're always striving for. But even after leveraging all of the technologies and feeling like you do everything right, there's still opportunities that a guest is, not having a satisfactory stay. And oftentimes that's something that we only find out during post-stay reviews. So after they've left the property, after they've checked out, we send them this email or a message that says, take our survey, how's your experience? And, you're continuously surprised by then finding out that it wasn't that positive. So something that we're implementing with, essentially our guest messaging solution as well is, this on-site survey response. So you can see that this conversation, with a hotel and guest they had a bad experience at the restaurant, and it was the first time, and they just wanted to kind of let the hotel know. So just by acknowledging that review and saying, we're so sorry about that. Thank you for your loyalty. And again, going back to having a really great integrated PMS and CRM where that this guest is a loyal guest, that they're part of your loyalty program. You can really try to prioritize and make those people feel special when you have all of that data. So when all of these systems are integrated is really where you can get the most personalized and great experience for them. And then at the end of the day, this actually did, turn out to be a much more positive post-stay review because we had already taken that kind of on-site survey feedback. So the then review that you're publishing out to future travelers, that's going to impact your reputation and your rating online on all of these channels. You can turn that negative into a positive. And that's really, where we have seen a lot of success when integrating this into our guest feedback platform. So if we go to the next slide, I'll take you through a couple of stats from a group of hotels that were testing on-site surveys in the Asia Pac region. So again, they were incorporating this case of on-site feedback. And with that on-site survey, they collected 846 reviews, and this was just in 3 months of them utilizing the product. So it's a huge amount of feedback that they can then take into their guest feedback platform and analyze and figure out, what they need to solve. And in this case, they solved 105 issues total. And overall, 91% of their on-site reviews were positive. So that was great. They knew that they were, also pleasing the guests at the time, but knew that there were also some instances where they needed to improve, and those situations were solved. So if we go into the next slide, the results really speak for themselves. The post-stay surveys only increased from the on-site survey, and they were able to receive an equal or 75% higher score than they were on the on-site survey. So when you're averaging at 91% for your on-site survey, you can see that getting these scores increased, puts you well above, your goals. You're high in the 90th percentile, and you're getting excellent ratings on all of the platforms that are showcasing your reviews. So for this particular hotel group, when we compared their reviews, their post-stay reviews from that previous period last year, they had a 3% increase overall in their performance score, which is exactly the type of thing that can separate your hotel from the rest of the pack when travelers are searching. After price and location, it's the higher review that the person is really that the traveler is going to look at to make their final booking decision. So it really brings the guest journey full circle where, after post-stay, utilizing that feedback from your guests and then publishing it out to make sure that travelers see those positive reviews as well. Will then just further impact your search and booking and planning processes and making sure, that all of that is heightened as well. So I will wrap up after this particular case study, and I think we're moving on now to questions from the audience.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Valerie. And I'm going to turn things over to the audience to ask any questions that they may have, and we will get through as many of them as possible. Let's start off. First one. This one is for you, Valerie. For live chat on your website, who would you recommend to have handle these lines of communication or respond to the guest?
Yeah, that's a great question and one we get a lot. And, obviously, any of these tools, implementing them is going to change up the way that your staff responsibilities operate. But what we really try to focus on with technology is making life easier, not harder, right? So what we've implemented with live chat is canned responses. So, literally the typical questions that you get will always be easily answered from a bucket of responses that you can choose from. So you can send a really nice, personal, thought-through message, and it takes half a second versus actually typing it all out every time, or again, getting that question maybe through a different channel like email and spending multiple minutes on crafting a response to that. So it's actually quickening up things. So you can really utilize the staff that you have at hand typically. And then something that we are working on for the future, and I'm sure no one is a stranger to this, is chatbots. So, making sure that there are responses for common questions, and that is all handled, just via the technology. So that will be a really cool enhancement that I'm looking forward to seeing, not only from TrustU, but around the world. Because I would love to be able to get my answers easier, faster, quicker, all of those things.
Awesome. And Michael, this one is for you. We are a select registry in and also market to a lot of potential wedding couples. Can we use your tool to target guests by segmenting into groups? For example, a wedding group to let them know about an open house stay overnight package just for this group.
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely with our CRM platform, you can. I mean, group business is extremely important. All types of group business are extremely important from a marketing perspective, and it's the base of a lot of hotels in terms of how they build their strategy. So, short answer is yes, absolutely, and I would assume most CRM platforms would allow you to do that.
Awesome. And I will take the next one. How do you figure out what offer to give guests when they are checking in? So I'd say you want to take into account, one, previous guest data, if you have that. So if the guests indicated in the past that maybe they lost, or maybe they've used your small offers, then that would be a relevant package to offer them. If they've in the past indicated or maybe bought a bottle of champagne, that's an opportunity to upsell or to capitalize on that upsell. And beyond that, taking some insight from your surroundings. If there are some, aerial things that matter, meaning that, it's a big festival is happening, or there is, a lot of people in town for a trade show. So you have opportunities to capitalize on those and then offer packages that would be relevant to an audience of that nature and customize that within your mobile check-in workflow or your kiosk check-in workflow, and also arm your staff with that information as well, so that they can easily prompt or be prompted to mention those things and to leverage those for upsells during their conversation with guests. All right, next, let's see. Michael, tell us more about how the centralized guest profile can actually be used beyond the marketing department in hotels.
Sure. Yeah, I think the obvious place is at the front desk or within the operations team. So, you just hit on a little bit, if you have that consolidated, rich data available, you can sort of curate a check-in experience. If your line-level hotel employees who are out on property have a mobile device, platforms like ours enable them to access that data and have a meaningful conversation with the guests. So, I think, excuse me, as long as the entire hotel team, starting at the top from the GM, is committed to leveraging that data to enhance the experience, there's a multitude of ways you can use it. I think the easiest place to start is at the front desk during the check-in process.
Awesome. And I'll just throw this out there for anyone who wants to address it. GDPR concerns. To build guest profiles, we need consent from our guests. So loyalty guests is straightforward, but how about non-loyalty guests? How to address the GDPR bottleneck to build a guest profile?
I could take it quickly. The system that you're using to collect that data should have opt-in capabilities. And you do have to get that opt-in data regardless if they're loyalty or not. It's the best practice you should apply globally, not just for your guests that are under the statutes. It's coming here to California and the States in 2020, and I think 25 or 30 states have committed to follow directly thereafter. So it's just a best practice to get opt-in to use that data across the board. And for your guests that you don't have it, you can do an opt-in campaign where you ask them to do that. And if they don't, obviously you have to stop your communications. But the short answer for us is that we recommend that our clients are using the opt-in for GDPR compliance across the board on a global basis.
Awesome. And this one's for you, Valerie. What types of questions can be asked in pre-stay and on-stay surveys?
Sure. So I think we touched on this a little bit also within the, mobile check-in process. But what I really like to see in pre-stay surveys is, getting to know a little bit about where they want to stay. Some people can be particular about where their room location is. So you can be asking them if they have any particular preferences, and if you can meet them, you certainly will. You can always have a caveat in that text of, if the availability is there, we would love to accommodate you. And again, that's just building a better relationship with your guests and, and making sure that you're allowing them to have a really great experience right from the get-go. And then also, to build more revenue, you can be asking them if they're interested in any sort of room upgrades, spa treatments, restaurant reservations at the hotel. You're much more likely to actually get those things done if you're asking those types of questions in the pre-stay. And then obviously for on-site, I think it's a great idea to be asking consistently for that feedback. So, if you know that they did have a spa day, or if they did, book a particular room that they were preferring but maybe didn't get it, or if they did have a reservation at the restaurant, you can then be following up with, how were those experiences? Could you rate them for us? How can we do better? So I think that there's a myriad of questions, and obviously utilizing technology, and the experts in these fields, they'll have a lot more suggestions for you once you start implementing them. But I think those are some of the areas that immediately come to mind for me.
Awesome. The next question is, does the guest have to download an app to do the mobile check-in? In our case, no, the guest doesn't have to download the app. There are some solutions that, that allow you to download an app, but we've seen that it's much more effective from a conversion standpoint when you allow the guest to access a web link so that they're not, prompted or required to add an additional app onto their phone. So again, with ARIA, we see, they see about 1,200 arrivals a day, and they, convert about 35 to 40% of those on or via mobile check-in. So that's a huge conversion rate for them, and one they've continued to leverage and promote throughout all the MGM properties. So we do say that it's a very effective way to capture emails as well. If you, or if the guest maybe booked through an OTA and you didn't get their email information, or you didn't get information about the guest. All right, so next question is, how much control do guests have over their flow of communication? Are there times of day, preferences, options? So let's take this from a few different angles. I'll maybe talk about the PMS part. So if you're asking about the interactions that are prompted by the hotel through their technology, I don't think the control lies in the hands of the guest. I think it lies in the hands of the hotel. So for instance, for mobile check-in, you have up to 24 hours prior to the guest arrival to send an email to them so that they can check in. So at that point, the guest can choose to ignore that email. And so they do have control as to when they interact or respond, but it would be in the hands of the hotel to decide when that email is being sent out through automation. Michael?
Yeah, I think from a CRM perspective, if the hotel or chain of hotels typically going to decide how deep a profile they want to build from a first party standpoint. Obviously, we're going to get some data from the PMS, and the other systems that are connected. But above and beyond that, allowing the guest to go in and add preferences. In some cases, it can be as simple as room type, and as complex as your pet's birthday. I mean, it can be as crazy really as the data they want to collect. And then you have third-party data on top of that to be able to append through all the different various companies that are out there to really leverage that profile. And then, giving the guests the ability to control that data through a portal is super important. So they can go in and update and modify and adjust accordingly. But it really comes down to the hotel and how deep they want to go. And typically marketing plays a big role in that, right? Because the deeper the data, the better the segmentation and the more targeted the campaigns that can go out.
Awesome. I am going to have to jump in here and wrap things up. I didn't realize it was already 12 o'clock. Sorry for holding you guys a little longer than expected, but I'm sure everyone enjoyed the conversation. We kept you guys pretty much the whole way through, so thank you again for joining us. And I want to thank our panelists, Valerie and Michael, for really giving their insight and giving some really good insight. I think there's quite a bit here that the audience can take away from. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Okay.